Thursday night football, baby. We made it. It's time. Yeah, that's right. It's time for one of us to climb the standings tonight. Hopefully get a nice takedown. 2 weeks in a row with $50,000 winners. Mind blown. Hopefully someone tonight ends up being somebody who can win something nice. It's all relative to however much you're playing each and every night. I see screenshots every once in a while in our Discord. People post a $5 lineup. They win $75. And they say it with, they'll post it in Discord. They're happy about it, but they'll say something underneath the photo like, it's not like the other wins, but it means a lot to me. Listen, it's totally relative. Someone with a couple $1,000s in play that wins 10K is likely going to have the same amount of excitement as someone with $5 in play that wins $50. Okay. So enjoy your victories. Celebrate your wins. When you have them, let them rip, man. Enjoy them. It's hard to get DFS wins, especially nice wins that return a significant ROI for you. Again, it's relative. So when you get those victories, I want you to celebrate them. Don't be embarrassed. There's no pride involved here. When you win, enjoy it, celebrate it. We want to celebrate with you no matter how big or how small that W is. Now, CG just messaged me on the side and he was like, yo, Mitch, you got to check this out. I did an update on the site. So I'm going to show you live real quick before we get into the Thursday night football game. Thank you very much, CG, for doing this for us. I have not looked at it. He's like, hey, Mitch, just check out the NFL menu. So I fired up the homepage here. We're going to look at it live. Just want to say thank you, FC, for sponsoring the stream. All of our members end up getting $20 to use on Fantasy Cruncher. And that is a pretty dope site, and not just for optimizer terms. They have a lot of really cool stuff over there too. So if you want to check it out, go ahead down below, description section, grab our subscribe now link. You can see what we're all about. Get yourself $20 to use on FC. And thank you very much. Let's go. The NFL menu. He said, look at the NFL menu, drop down tab, go to the research tab. Okay. So we've got stat leaders. I'm going to open new tab, red zone stats, advanced stats, and NFL trends. Okay, let's take a peek at these. These are all new to me too. You guys are seeing me open this live. This is something I guess CG was working on the back end here. So let's take a peek together and then we'll dive into the Thursday night game. I promise you this. This is just interesting to me always. Okay, so we got all the stats here. I like that. You could download these. That's cool. I'll take that. So we've got the general statistics, carries. I can sort all this stuff if I want. Targets. Oops, misclick. There we go. Targets. Yards. Looks like the sort is a little screwy, CG. Like when I'm sorting, it's not always sorting fully. I don't know what it's sorting. Maybe the page itself. Interesting. Well, that's cool. You got some stats here. And honestly, I mean, if you just wanted to download the stats, you could open them up and then you can do all your stuff you want in here. All right, let's look at the other tabs. What else do we have? Tight ends. Red zone. I love this stuff. You can see the efficiency of certain players inside the red zone. Now, this is where I think it's going to be helpful. Red zone for running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends. So you can see how many opportunities they're getting inside the red zone. So like Derrick Henry, 18 carries inside the red zone, converted 3 touchdowns. Look at Aaron Jones. He's got 6 targets in the red zone and 15 carries. So 21. That's probably the lead. And he ends up with 5 red zone touchdowns. This is pretty unique. I like this, man. Wide receiver opportunities inside the room. Look at Cooper Kupp and Zach Pascal tied for the league lead. Red zone targets. Keenan Allen's up there with 9. Okay. Tight ends. Darren Waller, we got to get you converting. Cool. All right, let's keep going. Advanced stats. All right. Yeah, Sam Darnold's going to be the goal line vulture. I don't know. I don't think I broke it, CG. I think honestly it was just sorting interestingly. All right, so we got QB advanced stats. This stuff's pretty cool. I always like using this. Air yards per attempt. This is actually a stat I do like using. Kind of shows how often a quarterback is heaving the ball down the field. Kyler Murray just taking deep shot after deep shot. These are plays over this yardage, I would imagine. Okay, pocket time. What is this? Like how quickly they release the ball? How many times they've been knocked down? Ooh, this is actually kind of cool because you can look at maybe targeting quarterbacks that are being pressured a lot, right? With an opposing defense. Advanced stats. Yards after contact. Yards per attempt. Broken tackles. This is sweet. Yeah, it's definitely not sorting the same way. Javonte Williams has been a great broken tackle player this year on his limited carries. Wide receiver advanced stats. What do we have? Air yards. There it is. Catchable targets. Team percentage of targets. Dude, I love this stuff. Thank you for this, man. I could spend so much time in here. Honestly, one of the fun thing is, yeah, you could download this and you could upload it right in FC. You could download them to your desktop and do a bunch of stuff too. Trends. What do we have? Snap percentage trends. Okay. Touches trends. So you could look at the touch totals, snap totals, targets totals, and then how many points they've scored weeks 1 through 4. And I'm assuming that as we get going, this is, over the course of the season, weeks 1 through 18. And it looks like we have best ball and a best ball intro. Oh, this is pretty tight, though. Thank you very much, CG. I'll have a lot of fun looking through this stuff. Thank you, man. And people can download that, upload it right in FC if they'd like. Let's look at tonight's showdown slate. Now, we normally look at DraftKings simply because people play DraftKings the most. So we'll go ahead and do that. Thank you very much, man. I do appreciate that. I appreciate your efforts, your hard work of putting in some extra cool stuff for people to use. Also, why don't I go ahead and I'm going to show this real quick. And actually, I don't know if I need to show it, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this tweet. Actually, I'm going to start posting these on Twitter. I think they're like really cool little ways that you can kind of have, a little content, a little extra sauce to your day. I'm going to post the tweet right here. You guys can grab that on your own time. But I did this 90-second little video on strategy for showdown slates and kind of talking through how we do things. So anyways, let's go ahead. We'll grab tonight's showdown slate. And I'm going to remove all players. Go to the captain spot. We know this is where the tournaments are won and lost. Going to show the columns I want to show here. I'm only interested in the projection. And let me go ahead. Matter of fact, I don't think I've downloaded my projection for tonight. So my apologies. Let me go ahead and grab the projection. I started the stream a little bit late tonight. I had dad life going on. So we started 15 minutes late. So I'm kind of running behind on a lot of the tasks I want to do. I also shot that mini video. I had to post a video to YouTube. And listen, fam, I just do what I can when I can. All right. So I downloaded it. Let me go back here quickly. Upload. Projections. Boom, boom. Boom, boom, pow. All right. Here we go. So I got my projections for tonight. Excellent. And we have a wide array of players I'm actually very comfortable with using in the captain spot tonight. Chris Carson looking like he's not going to play. So we will need to update our projections tonight. We will for sure, because we'll have, Alex Collins, Travis Homer. These guys are actually going to be viable options tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and remove Carson because I don't believe he'll end up playing. I'm going to give him a 0. That's going to put just 5, 6 guys in play for me tonight. It's going to be Kupp, Stafford, Wilson, Metcalf, Lockett, and Woods for the captain spot. Now, the ownership tonight, we talked about this in the past. The ownership on the captain spot is very important. When you have players who are going to be, 25, 30, 40% owned, like we saw Christian McCaffrey on that one Thursday night slate, you have an opportunity to leverage a lot of different scenarios. Tonight, the ownership on the projections is pretty flat. So it's actually quite difficult to leverage much at all. I think the play is honestly spread out your exposure at captains, and then you have to leverage the flex ownership. That is where the ownership's going to matter. It's not going to be so much the captain spot tonight. In fact, I think captains, what I'm probably going to do with my captain exposure here is, quickly do multiplication. 6 times 16 is 106. So I'll do just about a 16%. Maybe I'll go a little bit higher, 18%, so that we can kind of layer our exposure. What that means is it'll probably end up like 18, 18, 18, 18, 15 and 12 or 14 and 10, something like that. So whatever this ends up being, I'm okay with. If I put it at 20%, we likely end up with only these 5 as my captains, and Woods doesn't get any exposure. And I want him in there. And maybe I just cap him at like 12%, something like that. So I can just make sure everybody else gets a little bit more. and I'm going to spread out my exposure at the flex position. So let's go ahead. We'll fill out the rest of our player pool, and we're going to be talking about how we build our lineups. Running back's going to matter tonight. It really will. And you're going to see these guys all matter tonight. DJ Dallas is going to get some play time. It is going to be a disaster. Honestly, the Seattle Seahawks side is going to be a disaster. Let me open up the salary, actually, as one of the columns I need to see. There we go. Salary. So he has some very cheap. And look, Alex Collins, $3,200. Travis Homer, $1,000. And DJ Dallas is $600. Just like that. These guys all have projections tonight, and they're all going to matter to an extent. So we'll have to figure this out as we go. Darrell Henderson, Sony Michel kind of ripping each other apart here, unfortunately. Actually like Sony the most here at $1,800. And Darrell Henderson with the elevated salary and the elevated exposure is just somebody I'm kind of going to go out of my way to be underweight on. So we'll talk about that as we get going. I'm going to want as much exposure as I can to the passing game, both sides of the football. Guys like Deshaun Jackson will find their way in there. He is getting a few downfield targets per game. And the tight ends tonight, of course, Gerald Everett is going to make his return, makes Will Dissly a backup option. But I tell you what, my friends, Will Dissly was already getting a couple targets per week here, even with Gerald Everett in the game. So we're going to include them both. Kickers, both in play tonight. Absolutely. We're getting some points there. Defenses are both in play as well. I'm going to go to my advanced options, going to make sure that I can return it with two defensive players on the other side. Now, when you build out your lineups tonight, I think the rest of what we do here is totally inherent. Your decision-making is totally inherent on how risk-averse you are. So while I believe the play is to always spread out your exposure at the captain spot and then make personal stands at the rest of your player pool, that's entirely contingent on how much you can stomach being, close to being all in on your nightly investment on a player or two, or being all out, or fading a player is going to be higher owned. Maybe taking a stand and saying Darrell Henderson just doesn't have the ceiling I want from a player at $8,000 when I can pay $7,600 on a guy like Robert Woods, who I'm just waiting to have one of these 33, 28, 21, 20-point games, and I don't think Darrell Henderson can get there. So you've got to make your own personal choices with what you do with the rest of your lineup tonight. I can't answer for you what that decision is. Now, also, let me bring this up. Tonight, I will be playing on two sites. I'll be playing on DraftKings, and I'll be playing on Yahoo. Now, when you're building out your lineups tonight for these sites, depending on what you're doing, the way you build your lineup is entirely contingent on what the rules are for these sites, okay? So when you're looking at a site like DraftKings, listen, if I'm building a single lineup tonight, I'm probably going out of my way to lock in one of these wide receivers and crunching out a single entry optimal lineup. And then what I would do is not just run it optimally. I'm going to try to leverage the system a little bit, leverage the field a little bit through my optimal crunch. It's my own personal optimal, the way I do it, right? So if I have DK Metcalf, and I think he's got the highest touchdown equity on Seattle tonight, I'm going to make sure I have Russell Wilson on the other side. I'm going to lock him in there, and that's going to be the start of my lineup. I can still even run out the Rams defense and hope they can get 3 sacks, maybe a pick 6 or something late in the game. You can do something like that. You could go with Travis Homer and hope that he is the passing down back, even though Alex Collins is in there. Alex Collins has been somebody who's been very good in the passing game for a few years, but maybe Travis Homer plays that role tonight at $1,000. So you can lock, crunch, and that could be your single entry. Now, if you are building at single entry over here on DraftKings, you're going to want to make sure that you go through here. And when you're building these lineups out, you guys can see kind of how everything comes together when you're putting it together this way. So I would maybe go down here. I'm going to plug in Travis Homer, and you're looking at your lineup like this, 7,300 left over. What do you want to do with the rest of your lineup? How do you want to make it work? Is it Sony Michel and the Rams defense, and then you're plugging in Cooper Kupp or Matt Stafford? There's a lot of different ways you guys can build out your lineups. How you do it on DraftKings is focusing on the captain spot first. Now, when you're on Yahoo, it's a heck of a lot different when you're building your lineup. Why? And I was thinking about it earlier today. Why does it matter so much? Well, the salary does not change. So Cooper Kupp in the superstar spot at $37 is the same as Cooper Kupp in the flex spot at $37. So I don't want people to get confused here. On Yahoo, you're ultimately just going to be building the most optimal route you can. And on FanDuel, the other one I like to play over there, and I have not played there in a hot minute, Let's go ahead and take a peek this one. You'll see the difference here. On FanDuel, you can look at a guy like Matthew Stafford. Look at this, 16,000 in the MVP spot. Check this out. You go to the flex, it's the same darn thing. So very similar to Yahoo, where no matter who you're using and where you're using them, the salary does not change. You're building more optimally, and you need to have like one unique player out of your 5. Same thing on Yahoo. DraftKings, salaries start to get multiplied around based on where you do. The salary for Cooper Kupp at 12.4 gets multiplied by 1.5 times, just as if you're multiplying the points. It works out the same exact way. A 6K player is going to be a 9K in the DraftKings champion spot or captain spot, excuse me. So no matter what you're doing, you need to focus on exactly whom you're using in the captain spot and build out the rest of your lineup in a suboptimal way if you're playing these large tournaments. So I thought that was worth covering tonight, because I know a lot of people continue to learn how to play the showdown slates on the fly. And maybe this kind of segment I just did is probably something where I could have recorded it and done some type of, a little tutorial. And maybe that means I should go make a tutorial video to try to decipher all the differences on these other sites. Maybe that's something I'll do after this. Kind of talked myself into doing a tutorial. I love those tutorials. I can't help myself. All right, here we go. So let's go ahead and start putting these in. When I build out my captain lineups, one thing I like to go here is over to my group stacks, and I'm going to create captain. Let's see here. Let me think how I want to do this. I'm going to do groups, excuse me. So I'm going to create my captain groups. I'm going to unselect all. I'm going to type in CPTN. All right. So if I have Cooper Kupp, Rams, Robert Woods, Rams, I'm going to make sure that I have Stafford in the lineup as well. So anytime Cooper Kupp or Robert Woods ends up in the captain spot, I want Matthew Stafford. Why? If I am inherently saying Cooper Kupp's a viable option in the captain spot, well, what happened? He probably scored at least one touchdown, had over 100 yards, something like that. Well, if that happened, that means Matt Stafford had a floor of 100-something yards and one touchdown. Well, what happens if Robert Woods scores 2 touchdowns tonight? Well, Matt Stafford threw 2 touchdowns also. So you're going to want to make sure that Stafford's in the flex. If one of these guys ends up in the captain spot, I'm going to create a group for the other side as well. And I'm just going to, I'm going to put everybody in here. I think just because our spots are limited, I should be able to do this quickly. So Metcalf, Lockett, and we'll put in Russell Wilson. There we go. So now I've got my Seattle side and I have my Rams side. So whenever I build out the rest of my lineups, I am already going to be building them the way I want to. I've put in an exposure cap. So if I were to pump out 150 lineups tonight, let's take a peek. Only can create 5. All right, so that's going to be because of my exposure cap. So let me go ahead and raise this to like 25% and see if I can redo this. There we go. So it works out. And then when I finish my lineups, as you can see them crunching out. So if you're doing these lineups and you're like, I'm not getting any exposure to Russell Wilson in the captain spot. Well, you can lock him in and see if you can just crunch him out this way. Nope. Let me look at the rest of my roster. Oh, I can't because, oops. Let me unlock and do it again. I had Russell Wilson locked in. Let's put this back on 18% and try again. Crunch time. There we go. So it works out. I'm spreading out my exposure on DraftKings at the captain spot, which we continue to see through our lineup study streams. That has been kind of the best way to go. And then at your flex spots, you kind of make stands. So we're going to go through here. I feel fine with this exposure here across all of these lineups. And again, every time Cooper Kupp is in there in my flex, that means we also had Matt Stafford as my, Cooper Kupp and my captain. That means, Stafford's in there as my flex. When you build out your lineups, you're going to want to make some stands here with your exposures. This is what I wanted to make sure happen. And look at it happen organically. I freaking love this. So I'm way underweight on Darrell Henderson, and I am way overweight on Sony Michel. I also want to make sure I get some Travis Homer exposure tonight. So one of the things I would have to do is either bump his projection so that I get more of him, or simply just lock him in, crunch for like 20 lineups, make sure you have exposure that way. Y'all can do that simply. Like you can do this. Like if you want to make sure you have Travis Homer for 20, you can lock. Oh, did not work. Let me think through this. That is very bizarre, actually. I've never seen that happen. Let me give the old refresh. That's a bizarre one. Ian, isn't everyone going to have Cup or a QB at captain tonight? Maybe. I'm not making stands right now, personally. I'm just talking through scenarios. You know, current FC Pro ownership projection at 13.5%. I haven't even opened up our study hub. I don't want to have that stuff open right now. I really want to do my work right here in FC. But currently, it looks like it's fairly flat across the board. And listen, so let's say your projections say Cup and Stafford too highest owned there. Well, then don't use them. Or be underweight. Cap Cup at like 5%. Cap Stafford at 5%. And then reallocate that exposure on two other guys. Lockett, Metcalf, Wilson, Robert Woods. You know what I mean? Like, you can do that. You have complete control on what you want to happen in your lineups. All right, let's try this again. Travis Homer. This is bizarre. I've not seen this before. Look at that. He's legitimately just not showing up. It's like he's not even in the actual player pool. Let me boost his projection. That is bizarre. It's as if he's not actually in the pool itself. I'm going to have to reach out to them during off-stream time. But I'm going to want to make sure I try to get exposure to some of these other players. You know what I mean? What was this, 4.95? I'm going to want to try to get exposure to, if I'm doing 150 lineups, by the way, of course, you know, Dallas is getting 10, Homer's getting 15 or 20. You know, I'm probably going to want to be underweight on Collins and Darrell. The running back position is somewhere I want to be underweight and kind of pivot around. Looking at the exposure here for the rest of the lineups, let me go back to my first initial 150 so that we can look at the exposures everywhere. Look at them together. So, like, this is naturally already making stands, which I really, really like. That's like underweight on Darrell. Well, actually, that's with the field. So I probably want to go underweight. I probably cap in like 20%. And then a wide receiver. That's already underweight on Cup. Over on Metcalf. Underweight on Lockett. Over on Woods. Way over on Van Jefferson, which I'm cool with. Freddie Swain getting some exposure there, 12%. And then we're getting a few pieces of Deshaun Jackson. Let's look at our tight ends. Tyler Higbee way overweight on. Double the field. Kickers are in there. And we have Rams defense, no Seattle, which I'm kind of okay with. We haven't really seen. We go to Matt Stafford. You know, look, he's had 2 picks and 3 sacks on the season. I mean, defenses are not getting a lot of points off them. No, I didn't, CG. I was running late today. I didn't get a chance to show much at all. Study Hub, top 10s. Let's take a peek. And you guys can fire off any questions you want for tonight as well here in a hot second. I want to look at my final exposures in total, and we'll go from there. What's today, Thursday? DraftKings top 10s. Oh, yeah. So I saw this. I did not show anybody. I love this. I think this is really unique because, you know, and I'm not sure if he plans on adding other types of top 10s, but what I love initially right now is being able to see value. What I envision this helping us see clearly is like what we did during MLB. Do you remember during MLB, we would look at like a pitcher? He would be like the 8th price pitcher, but our projection would have him like 3rd. And we're like, wow, that just screams value. I think this is a really cool way to look at the higher end projected players based on their salary and then seeing what their projections are. You know, it's kind of been that question people ask sometimes, how do you know which studs to play? Well, this is a really unique way you can kind of look at that and say, well, this is cool because this player is the 8th highest salary, but the 5th highest projection. That's a stud you maybe want to target a little bit more this week. So yeah, there's definitely some usage here. I'd have to take a peek a little bit longer to see how I would want to exactly use it. But it's another piece to the puzzle. And I think having a 10,000-foot snapshot view of kind of like, what are the higher end guys projected to be doing? Like initially I can look at this and say, Kittle, third highest price, seventh highest projection. Probably not touch him this week, right? Just Trey Lance not peppering him. He's not having a good year. He's still third priced as if he's exploding. So no, thank you. Tread carefully with Sony. Played only 7 snaps last week since Henderson was back from injury. Yeah, I mean, listen, it's a showdown. Let me get different. He can have 7 snaps tonight if he gets a goal line carry for me. I'm cool with it. I envision something more like week 2, right? 13 carry split. And then you get Sony Michel here at 10 carries. You know, they were also playing from behind the entire game. And I don't think they're playing from behind tonight. So I'm not too concerned about a 1 week to week carry total. I think if they're playing with a lead, which I think they're playing with a lead tonight, I really do. I don't think Seattle has just not done well against the Rams for years. And if the Rams are playing with a lead, I think Sony Michel is a 50-50 timeshare tonight. Listen, fam, I mean, we're almost hitting that 30-minute mark. I've been trying to keep them to 30 minutes tonight, this week. And I honestly wanted to go over kind of like a brief setup, talk about what we had been kind of discovering through our lineup study for yesterday's stream, where we did, oh, by the way, yesterday's stream, if you didn't catch the last half hour, you missed out big time. You missed out big time. We studied 6-player game stacks, and we tried it out. 150 max for weeks 1 through 4, doing 6-player game stacks. Mind blowing. I was actually shocked at how many lineups were cashing. Didn't get the wins we thought we would. You have to do a lot of tinkering. It was very interesting. I think anybody who missed it, you should probably go back and take a peek. I think we also had, we just posted a video here on YouTube right before I went live. So go watch that. That is created by Beastie. So that is live right now. So you guys can take a peek at that after the video ends here. And listen, my friends, I really hope that you guys have a good time tonight playing these showdown slates. They're a lot of fun. Make sure you're careful with how you play. They're very top heavy. And even when you get to the top, you're splitting with a lot of people. So tread lightly, be careful, play them to have fun. And if you want to check out our content, our tools, get your hookup on FC, go ahead and grab the description link down below. And it says subscribe now or something like that. Go ahead and grab that. And I hope to see you on the inside, my friends. Best of luck. Hit that like button on your way out. I should have said that 30 minutes ago. I'm such a noob right here. I'm such a noob on YouTube. So hit the like button on your way out, and I will see you on the inside. Thanks for hanging out today. Tomorrow is the main slate analysis stream. We like that one. That's a very heavily watched stream. So I'll see you tomorrow at 1 o'clock. We'll do it together. Take care, my friends.